The narcissist is tormented by what they did to you. They may not show it. They may not tell you it. It may seem like they don't even care. It may seem like they're trying to cause as much damage to you as possible, as though they're really trying to run you into the ground. And you may think that it's because they can't find satisfaction. And yes, that is a big part of it. You may think that it's because they don't feel like they've done enough. They haven't punished you enough. But the answer to that is kind of a yes and no. In some ways, they don't feel like they have, but then that's also because deep down they feel like they have. They don't feel guilt for their actions. They don't feel like what they're doing is bad. They understand that for people to do the things that they do, it is bad, it is wrong. But from their perspective, in their minds, they think that it's okay for them to do it. Because they feel like they're special, they're entitled, they're very arrogant. So it's not okay for other people, but for them it is. Every abuser has an excuse. They always find a way to justify what they do. But they are shame-based people who are doing everything they can to avoid reflecting on their shame. And this is why you see a lot of the weird things that they do. And you wonder, why are they doing that? Why are they going full force in that direction against you? And really, they're just driven by their shame. Or rather, they're driven by trying to avoid reflecting on it. When a narcissist's image is damaged, they feel shame, not genuine guilt. They don't feel like what they've done is bad. They don't feel like they're bad. Well, they feel like they're a bad person. But they don't feel bad about their actions, and they don't feel bad for you. They don't feel any compassion or concern for you. And it's because they're in survival mode. They're at such a low level of consciousness. They have such a low capacity for being able to handle things. They're very weak. So they could only worry about themselves. They haven't got the capacity, the emotional capacity, to take into consideration your feelings and needs, because they're struggling to take care of themselves. And this is why, even though, yes, they are running from their shame, and sometimes they do feel the shame, but it's not about them feeling anything for you. These feelings are only for themselves. And they feel like they're a bad person as a result of the things that they have done. Because this grandiosity, it's all a delusion. It requires external support, external validation. And sometimes they're not getting enough supply. Sometimes you challenge or confront them. And then they start to feel insecure about it. They start to reflect and think, am I really this worthy, this deserving? Am I really this special to treat people this way, to do the things that I do? Is it really justified? Do I really have an excuse? That's how they start to feel at some level. Because all they're ever really looking for is validation to provide a justification for what they do. To validate their excuses, because this is what they're insecure about. This is why it can seem sometimes as though they lack confidence. Because deep down, they don't really believe that they have a right to do what they do, to treat people however they choose to. They don't really believe that. Or at least they're not 100% confident about it. And that's how you'll notice there is some insecurity there. Because of course, what happens when you challenge them, confront them, threaten to expose them, it causes a narcissistic injury. They rage. If someone is that confident about what they're doing and they feel like what they're doing is right, they're not going to rage when you confront them. They're not going to rage if they feel like you're threatening to expose them. They're going to be calm about it, because they're going to feel sure within themselves despite what they're seeing on the outside. Unless, of course, they're being brainwashed. That's different. If someone is being brainwashed over a long period of time, deep down they may feel something different. But it's because they're being hit so many times that it kind of breaks them down over a certain amount of time. And that's normal. That can happen to anyone. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you just confronting them in one incident, or just one time that they feel like there's a threat to them being exposed, and then they react in such an extreme way. Think about it like this. And this really reveals what's going on in their minds. It reveals that they are suffering. It reveals that they are tormented. Because you see their reaction just from one incident, just from one thing. It's like you poke them once and they explode. And to get that same reaction out of you, how many times would I have to poke you? Or would they have to poke you? 100 times, 1,000 times. With them, just once is enough. Because they're already tormenting themselves in their minds. They're fighting against this inner critic, this inner dialogue that's telling them that they didn't have a right to do that and they're actually a bad person. This is how you know when someone's being tormented internally. It's when there's no external pressure. But you can see that they're like a loose cannon. They're always on edge. They're very unstable. This is how you know that they're being tormented in their minds. Because all it takes is for you to come along and to point out something about them. Something that may be entirely true, and yet they're living in a false reality. They're living in a delusion. And you don't even have to say anything, just your presence. Because they're constantly scanning the environment. They're scanning people's body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, for any signs of disapproval, any signs of skepticism, of you not believing in their narrative. And that's how sometimes out of nowhere you see such extreme reactions and you're thinking, is this fair? Is this justified? Or where is this reaction even coming from? Like, what did I do to deserve this? To get this response? And that's just it. It's got practically nothing to do with you. They're already tormenting themselves in their minds, and it's like a house of cards. You just poke it once and it topples over. No moderator, just give me a few seconds to take all of these trolls out of here. The craziest thing about them is not that so much the things they say, but it's that they actually think people take them seriously. They're that delusional. But again, another thing is the fear of consequences. They're haunted by that as well. It causes them to become very paranoid. Because in the back of their minds, they know the things that they have done. And they know that people out there, they're not going to be happy about it. But of course, if someone just came along and just steamrolled over them, you are going to be seeking justice. You are going to want to take action against them. And they're very scared of that because they know that they've gone and they've done so many things to people, even people before you. And they're just wondering, when is it going to catch up to them? This is why you may notice, everything's so fast with them. They want to get involved with you, secure you as quickly as possible, get as much out of you as they possibly can, and just live it up as much as they can in the shortest amount of time possible. Because they don't know how long they've got. They don't know when someone's going to pop up and accuse them of something. Because they've got so many skeletons in the closet, so many things that they've done to people that they haven't ever even been held accountable for. So there's this fear of the consequences as well. But don't mistake that with remorse. They don't feel any remorse. They don't really feel any guilt. They don't feel like what they've done is wrong so much. They just feel like they're a bad person as a result of the things that they have done. So they don't feel sorry for you. And they may not even feel regret. They just kind of deal with things as it goes. But this is why, this is why they groom you, they condition you into being like a puppet for them. Because you are a mirror back to them. And what they don't want to see is a reflection of who they actually are. So they try and distort you, they try and mold you into something that makes them feel more comfortable. To where they can then point the finger at you and just laugh and say, no, you're bad, you're crazy. Look at you, look at how you're acting. You're the one who's unstable. That's what they want to do. And that's why they're so into grooming you, molding you, conditioning you. Because you being your authentic self, it acts as a mirror and reflects back to them who they actually are. Whenever they see you at peace, calm, it reminds them of how they had no right to do what they did and how they're actually a bad person. Because again, they've got to have a justification, an excuse. There has to be something wrong with you. So they have to make something wrong with you in order to justify the abuse. And sometimes they may even experience regret. Not remorse, but regret. And again, it's not because they hurt you. It's not because they care about you as a person. It's not because they loved you. It's because they lost the supply. The narcissistic supply, the attention, validation, admiration, maybe money and resources, sex, having a place to stay. They may regret losing those things, but even then, they don't blame themselves. I mean, deep down, they may feel like it's their fault. That's why they're so defensive. When you try and put the blame on them, when you try and hold them accountable, they're very defensive against that. Because deep down, yes, they know that it's their fault, and there's so much shame. They feel like they're a bad person deep down. So yeah, they may regret, but they don't blame themselves, they blame you. But yeah, this is how they can often seem so delusional. It's like they're living in a completely different world. And why does it seem that way? Because they are. They're not living in reality. They're living in denial. They're living in a fantasy world where they're perfect, where they haven't done anything wrong, where they scapegoat you and they hold you accountable for everything. That's not reality. And this is why they can't find any peace or happiness within themselves. This is why they're always seeking escapism. They have so many addictions. Drugs, alcohol, clubs, gambling, shopping, video games, supply. Because they're running from themselves. This is why they need all of these distractions. But for us, well, if you have a clear conscience and, you know, outside of the brainwashing, you really believe that you tried to do the best that you could. You don't want any distractions. You don't want any brainwashing, grooming, conditioning. You don't need drugs. You don't need excessive amounts of alcohol, excessive spending. You don't need any of that because you have a clear conscience. You know you didn't hold any ill intentions. You did the best that you could. You did far more than you should have done for them. So you don't want the distractions. This is why they distract you. This is why they pile all of these duties and responsibilities onto you. They cause chaos in your life because they know without the distractions, without all of the problems they cause for you, you're going to be feeling really good about yourself. You're going to feel at peace with yourself. Of course, they know that because they know you're not like them. They know you don't have to deal with the shame that they have to deal with. They know that they're evil. And this is why, you know, they go full force in villainizing you, blaming you for everything. You're always at fault and spearing you, sabotaging you. This is why they do all of that. Because they're insecure about it. Whatever they put out is what they're insecure about, is what they're not currently seeing. So whenever they go full force into anything, whenever they try their best to make something happen, it's because it's not currently happening. It's because they're not currently seeing it. So this is how you know that they know you're a good person underneath it all, despite everything they've done to you. By their consistent campaigns, their villainizing, the sabotage, piling the duties and responsibilities onto you. This is how you know they're being tormented. They're trying to make you appear in a certain way and not based on real facts, just their own stories, their own false narrative, rumors, lies. If this video is making sense to you so far, give it a thumbs up. Let's get this video out there. But yeah, I got some more stuff to say. This is why they try to distort everything. By the end of it, it's like you can't even remember your own name. You don't know which way is up, which way is down. That's the gaslighting, the denial, the projection, blame shifting. Sometimes even the double binds. This is all just to screw your mind up, screw up your memory, perception, sanity. But think about it like this. If you really know that what you did was justified, it was okay, you had a right to do that, you didn't do anything wrong, it was acceptable, so you're not running from your shame, you would want the other person to be clear-minded. You would want them to see things clearly. You wouldn't be manipulating them, gaslighting them, distorting everything. You would want them to see everything, to see the good person that you are. And this is how you know that it's them and not you, just based on their actions, their behavior. And this is why you don't gaslight them. You don't try and twist or distort things, and instead you try and provide all of the evidence that you can. And you work very hard to do that. You open yourself up to them. You make yourself vulnerable. You try to be as honest as you possibly can. And that just gets you into even more trouble because they don't respect your honesty. They exploit that. When you're open, when you're vulnerable, they use that to further groom and condition you. Keep you under a spell. Keep you locked up in their fantasy worlds. Because that's where they want to keep you, believe in a lie. But no, do not doubt yourself. You were right all along. You were right from the start. That's why they are the ones who are distorting everything, being covert, lying, trying to make you delusional, just twisting everything, gaslighting you, grooming you, like a puppet on a string. This is why they're the ones doing that to you. And with you, it's just clear, it's concise, it's honest, it's open, it's vulnerable. And, you know, it's as clear as day. It really is. I mean, whenever you see anyone engaged in manipulation, brainwashing, grooming, it's like, what do you need to do that for? If you're honest, if you're real, if you haven't done anything wrong, then you would want people to see you clearly. Why would you hide? Why would you be deceptive? Why would you lie? You wouldn't need to. But they do. And why do they do that? Because they're being tormented and they're trying to avoid any further torment, any further confrontations with their own shame. But yeah, it may look like they've just forgotten about you, they've gone off the new supply, and they're having a great old time now without you. But no, it's all a distraction. The new supply is nothing but a form of escapism. They're trying to escape from their true reality. The new supply is just there to distract them from reflection, because they don't ever want to self-reflect, they don't ever want to be connected to themselves. And this is why they gaslight you, and then when you start to wake up, they get rid of you. They ghost you, discard you, smear you, isolate you. Because being around you, you become a mirror that reflects the real them back to themselves. So they see themselves through you. And this is just how it works. This is how we truly connect to people, is when we connect to ourselves through them. Of course, you know, this is much deeper psychology. But that's how it happens, you know, when we are being authentic and connected to someone, we're actually connecting to a reflection of ourselves. And that's why they run away. That's why they ghost you, because they don't want to see themselves. And they can see themselves very clearly through you. They can see a mirror reflection of themselves. Because you know, you're aware. You know what they're like. You know what they're afraid of. You know what they're ashamed of. You know what they've done. You know what they should be held accountable for. You know the consequences that they should face. And they don't want anything to do with that. This is why they ghost you. It's why they discard you. Because they don't like themselves. And This is why they wore a mask at the beginning. This is why they manipulated you. They give you a false character. Because they don't like the real them. They don't believe that the real them is good enough. And this is why they groom you, keep you under a spell, so that it makes it difficult for you to see who you're actually dealing with. And let's not forget, during a narcissistic collapse, that's when they experience extreme torment. That's when they really go through it. When they are held accountable for their actions, when they do face the consequences. But typically, I mean, that's very rare. And I'm going to keep it real with you, it is very rare. I mean, what we're seeing now with P. Diddy, you don't see that often in the world. And I'm sure many of you can vouch for that, you know. Many of you may have struggled to hold your narcissist accountable and get them to face consequences. They rarely ever do. And if anything, they're the ones who get you in trouble when you're doing everything that you can for them. I mean, just look at what happened with Cassie. This was like 10, 15 years. And no one was there for her. She had no support. Everyone was against her. And this is just what happens in the world with real, authentic people. It's definitely a pattern that I've seen. But yeah, you know, that doesn't mean that they've got one over on you and they get away with it. They don't face true torment. No. What they face is worse. They spend the rest of their lives running, never knowing truth, never knowing peace, never connecting to themselves, never wanting to. Constantly seeking distractions. And let me tell you this, if they were held accountable, if they were disciplined, if they faced the consequences, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to them. It really could. It would change everything, potentially. It may trigger them to self-reflect. And it would destroy their false image. They would start again. And they could actually become something for real. Just look at the self-aware narcissist on YouTube. There's Lee Hammock from Mental Healness. There's Ben from Raw Motivations, others as well. And if you watch their videos, you'll find that they awakened. They became self-aware when everything went wrong for them, when maybe their wife left them, when they lost everything. And same thing with the self-aware diagnosed covert narcissist that I did a live interview with. This was last year. He said he didn't become self-aware and he wasn't diagnosed until he lost everything. And that's when he then started to find real peace, joy within himself. So the worst thing that can happen for them is never reflecting, never being held accountable, just being cursed for life. Because what are they doing? They are resisting it. And what you resist persists. What they need to do is come home. Just go within and accept it. It's getting kind of awkward out here though. This guy just even bowed down to me just now. I do see some crazy things. But yeah, they're always going to run away. They're never going to come home to themselves. And honestly, I have compassion for them. I feel bad for them. Because it's like, what's the point of even being alive? Just to be an artificial character. Just to be something that isn't even real. That doesn't even exist. You're just a mirage, a hologram. You're not even real. You don't even know who you are. What is the point? And yet that's all that they're living for. They're living just to keep up an image, just to keep up with the Joneses. And it's all fake. That's why they're never happy, they're never grateful for anything that you do for them. They're never satisfied with you or with anyone. They just try to make people think that they are until they don't anymore. But yeah, their suffering, it has nothing to do with empathy. They'll make it seem like it does, like they actually feel bad for you, like they're trying to help you, or they feel bad for someone else. They don't care about anyone. They don't even care about themselves. All they care about is their false character. And that's just it. Whenever you see someone with a false image, how can they care about anyone when they don't even care enough about themselves? When they could be fake. So it's got nothing to do with empathy. It's all just about their ego. It's all about their sense of self-importance. But yeah, it's for you. You don't need their remorse. You don't need their regrets. You don't need anything from them. Everything you need, you can get from within. Because you were the abused. You were the victim. They wronged you. You didn't deserve to go through that. So you can heal by going within. You don't need their validation, their closure. But let me tell you this. They're going to be chasing your validation, your closure, potentially for the rest of their lives. And if it's not directly from you, then they'll try and search for you in someone else. Because they know how they have wronged you, and it makes them feel like a bad person. And this is why, when they go off, they try and search for someone similar to you. Because deep down, it's not that they feel bad for you. Remember, their feelings are only for themselves. But it's because they feel like they're a bad person. It's because they feel like they did something wrong, or they made a wrong decision. So then they keep trying again. And, that's just it. The shame-based people who are doing everything they can to avoid reflecting on their shame. And only if they could confront the shame and accept that, yes, they did do something wrong, they did make a mistake, only then would they be able to let it go. But of course, that's probably never going to happen, and that's why the show goes on. Endless distractions, endless escapism, endless brainwashing. They want to look anywhere other than within themselves. And this is why, they constantly project, deflect. This is why they're a nightmare to be around. Goes another guy over there just talking to himself. There's a lot of weirdos around here. But then again, when aren't there? When aren't there? But yeah, now it's your time. Let me know what you think about this description of the narcissist being haunted by the things they've done to you. Also, when I was in Japan, this was about a year and a half ago, I did a video titled "The Smear Campaign Will Destroy the Narcissist and Their Flying Monkeys." And in that video, I referenced real clinical studies which shows that bullies are at a 10 to 25 times more risk of developing a psychiatric condition than their own victims who they are bullying, as well as so much more. Work issues, relationship issues, substance abuse, the list goes on. So definitely check that video out. Just type it in the YouTube search bar. The smear campaign will destroy the narcissist and their flying monkeys. And yeah, you can see real clinical evidence that what I'm saying is true. And it's something that I've always believed. The victim always has the last laugh. The victim always wins in the end. The narcissist always loses. Every time. And they were losing long before they got involved with you. I mean, just think about it. The things they did to you. You think a happy person is going to do those things? Of course not. A happy person is not going to treat you like that. That's someone who's unstable. They can't find any peace within themselves. So they've got to disrupt yours. And just remind yourself of that, the position that they were in to do those things to you should remind you just of how broken they must be inside. So always remind yourself of that, what type of person would commit these actions. Not a good person, not a happy person, not someone who's at peace. No. How a person treats you is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. As within, so without. And this is why I myself, I treat people with respect. I respect people's boundaries. I don't try to consume or devour them. I don't do anything like that. And even when it comes to narcissists, even though, of course, there's times where I feel like, I could kill a narcissist, I don't. And I realize that I have the tools within myself to regulate myself. And I walk away and I can be compassionate from afar. Because, of course, I can understand these are not happy people. They're going through something themselves. And you don't know, what they've gone through in their lives. You don't know where they've come from. You don't know about their lifestyle, their living conditions, the things that were done to them in their childhoods. You don't know how unheard, how invisible they feel, how they wish there could be something, how they may have dreams. You don't know about any of that. You don't know, what's really burning them up inside. And again, I'm not saying that makes it okay, the things that they have done to you. Of course not. There is no excuse for abuse. There is no excuse for harming someone. And yet, we can understand what got them to that point. And of course, that's very important to understand it. Because then we know what to look for. And it makes it easier for us to protect ourselves. But yeah, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for abuse. And, you may say, what about reactive abuse? I mean, even reactive abuse, there's no excuse for it. But again, you can understand it. Of course, if someone is being forced against their will, you can't really abuse then. I mean, if you are being backed into a corner and there's no escape, like you're locked in a room and someone is just beating you down, you're still going to be the victim no matter what you do. If someone is a serious danger, a serious risk to you, no matter what you do, you're still the victim. You're still just wanting peace and you're just trying to do anything you can to protect yourself. So that's a completely different thing. And, narcissists often try to play that card, but it's all a lie with them. They could go somewhere else. They don't have to be around you. They don't have to be with you. They don't have to treat you the way that they do. That's a choice. It's a decision that they're making. They do that to you. So that works for you, but it doesn't work for them. But of course, this is what they do. They will back you into a corner. And it's like there's no way out for you. It's like the only way out is for you to go through them. And then they'll play the victim. Then they'll blame you. And it just makes no sense. I mean, it's like in that video with Cassie and P. Diddy. They just want you to lie down and play dead. And just let them do as they please with you. It's crazy. But this is how they think. This is what they do. But yeah, let me know if you've got any questions. Steady Pace says some narcs could be schizophrenics. Not sure how to spell that. It's unlikely. Because from what I've researched about schizophrenics, although they may have delusions, hallucinations, they tend to be harmless. They tend to be very nice people. And actually, I mean, I would say that there's a link between narcissistic abuse and schizophrenia. I would say that schizophrenic traits, symptoms, could be the result of abuse. Of course, there's always exceptions, and yes, in rare cases, there could be a narcissistic schizophrenic. That is possible. But yeah, narcissists, they are psychotic. They are practically delusional. They're experiencing psychosis, and I did do a video recently of how narcissists are delusional. And I could go into the more psychotic side of it as well, because many narcissists, they are psychotic. But it's like borderline psychosis. They're practically mad, insane. I mean, they're having these delusions. It's like they're trying to implement a fantasy into reality. But it has no basis in reality. There's nothing there. It doesn't exist. And yet they try and pull you into it. I mean, the shared fantasy, and that term is coined by Professor Sam Vaknin. The shared fantasy is a delusion because they're gaslighting themselves. So they are practically psychotic. Leila says, I also think there's a link between MPD and hoarding disorders. There may be. I mean, they could have a sense of worth tied to those items. Having like a collection of antiques. Or maybe they collect cars, as an example. But also with victims. I mean, I did a video. This was maybe a few months ago. I did a video on how victims of narcissistic abuse may also hoard items as well. And of course, you're going to find that many victims of narcissistic abuse may do similar things to narcissists, but just not to that extreme. Because when you're around these people, because of the way they are, it can rub off on you. Because that's just it, we're social creatures, and emotions, behaviors. Quite clearly, these are contagious. You know, we're not just aliens who are just dropped off from another planet. I mean, you look at any country in the world, you already know what people are going to look like, how they're going to behave. People tend to act similar in the same city or in the same country in any part of the world. So of course, if you're around a narcissist for a prolonged period of time, their qualities, their mindset is going to rub off on you. But because they're delusional, they lack self-awareness, they're going to project and blame you. They don't see themselves, they're disconnected from themselves. They're psychotic, they're living in a fantasy. And they like to play dumb, you know, they like to act innocent. That's a video I'll have up in a few hours today of how narcissists act innocent and play dumb. They do, they're in a completely other world because there's so many things. I mean, it gets to a point where it's like, you can't even talk to them anymore. They do so many things to you that you try and sit down and have a conversation with them. And it's like you're navigating a minefield. It's like anything that you say could potentially trigger them because they've done so many things. It's like you can't go anywhere. Wherever you go, like you go to a restaurant, and it's like, oh yeah, I remember they raged at me there. Or maybe you go to a certain shop and that reminds you of how they stole a certain possession from you. So it gets to a point where it's like anything you talk about, anywhere you go, it's always triggering them. And again, you know, this goes back to how they are being tormented. This is why they just end up trying to isolate you. It's like they just want to just lock you away and throw away the key. Because anywhere you go in your freedom, your independence, it's always going to trigger them. It's always going to remind them of the things that they did to you. Because they've done so many things. I mean, narcissists, I mean, they are really like doing hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of things throughout the relationship. It's just so many different things that it gets to a point where you just can't do anything. You can't say anything. You can't go anywhere without them being triggered. But instead, of course, it ends up just being you carrying the shame all of the time because they project onto you. So it's like no matter what you do, no matter what you say, just you existing then causes you to have to carry the shame because they project that onto you. This is why we talk about no contact. But it doesn't matter, you know, what they've done to you. I mean, even if they've done a quadrillion things to you, even if they've ran you into the ground a quadrillion times and brought you back to life again, just to do the same thing again and again, they're never going to be satisfied. They're never going to find that satisfaction in you. It's not satisfaction, it's a distraction. They're just distracting themselves from the void that they have within. We Love Sound says, just being there, it's like an assault on their fantasy version of you. LOL. Oh, it is. It really is. 102 live viewers, give it a thumbs up. If you're enjoying this, I'm out here right now at this park. It was peaceful. But of course, you know, there's always weirdos out here. There's always people who are going through something. But yeah, here it is, the park. You can see the TRX tower in the background. And there's the Patronus Towers. And I'm only here for 2 more weeks. And this may be the last time that I am here in Malaysia. because I really have nothing to do here. I mean, I've traveled around the entire country several times. I've already been to all of the hotels and had all of the cars, everything. Tried all of the foods, I've done it all. So I've already done everything that I wanted to do. And it's time to get Nala out of here. You know, I'm very deeply connected to Nala. And I feel like she's getting quite bored of this place. She's not as excited as she used to be. So hopefully I can get her somewhere and maybe she can spend some time outside. Because to be honest, you know, that was the whole point. You know, before I started my YouTube channel, I had this dream of me and Nala being in Spain. You know, somehow I would make the money. I didn't know how exactly. But I had this dream, this fantasy. And every day, you know, I'd go to, well, not every day, but most days, I'd go to the supermarket, the gym, and then walking on the way back, I would be walking down by the beach and just imagining that I'm not there anymore. And instead I'm in Spain. I'm walking down a beach in Spain. And, you know, the whole point, you know, it wasn't so much about me. It was more about, you know, can I give Nala a better life? Can I get like a ground floor apartment somewhere and I can leave the door open so she can run around outside? And, you know, although I didn't get to go to Spain, she has been outside in several countries. So she's had those experiences. And, you know, I remember the time she was running around in like the jungle and playing around with different cats. And yeah, she had a great time, you know. She made friends, typically with cats that were a similar color. But now it's gotten very difficult, and, you know, she's always in a condo with me. And if I'm lucky, you know, I get a balcony. But usually I don't even get that. And so she's always stuck inside. And I'd really like to give her that freedom again. Yeah, Nala's still doing good. I mean, you know, she is happy, but I can tell that she's bored. She doesn't really have much to do. And, you know, as you know, that apartment I'm in now is very noisy. It's just not good energy for her. She likes peace, quiet. Or at least, you know, just the sounds of nature. And she doesn't get that there. So, you know, it's not really her kind of place. But she will be back with a pet sitter in a couple of weeks. So, you know, although she'll be away from me, I think she will have some company with some other cats. And, you know, it's something new for her. So hopefully, you know, that should be good for her. But yeah, she's had a good time, you know, traveling into all of these different countries, and she's been in all of these different condos, hotels, all of these different cars. And, you know, a few times she's been out in the jungle in Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Thailand, and just running around being free. Steady Pace asks, does Nala like cat toys? It's difficult with cat toys. I mean, you know, in the condo that I'm in now, there isn't really much room for her to run around and play with a toy. But even when I do get one, it just ends up stuck under the couch somewhere. Or she just rips it apart very quickly. And usually she does just like to play with just anything she finds. But what she likes more than anything is just playing outside, you know, as cats do. She isn't really like a complete indoor cat. Like, I'm sure, you know, if she could go outside, she would be out all night. John Tracy says, variety, the spice of life. Yeah, that's what I was thinking before I did all the traveling. I was thinking, like, what if I could replay my entire life? Like on a map, and you just see that I'm just moving around in the same spot, in the exact same city, the exact same part of the world for practically my entire life. But now, of course, it's very different. And, you know, who knows what I would look like, you know, if you could see all of the different places I go to on a map. But sadly, you know, that's how it is for most people. If you could see their lives on a map, it would just be like something like this, just like a tiny little dot in the world. And that's really sad, you know. People should take the time to explore. But most people, it's like every day they just sleep for 7-8 hours. They go to work, going to work, coming back, that could take up to 10 hours. And then they just get a few hours each day. And even then, you know, they spend that doing the cooking, eating, watching TV, on social media. And then their entire life just passes them by. Now, I didn't have the means before, but I knew I never wanted my life to look like that. And now if you check out my Instagram, Narc Survivor YouTube, you'll see that at least for the past few years, I have had that variety in my life. But yeah, 103 live viewers, give it a thumbs up if this has been good for you so far. I'm going to finish this one off here and go and get something to eat. But I'd just like to thank you all for your support. And yeah, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you agree with what I've said here, or maybe you've got something to add. Let me know if you have any questions. And if you're new here, subscribe. Click the bell icon, all notifications to be notified when I go live again. And if you would like guidance or support your healing journey, you can book a one-on-one with me. Go to my website, it's narcsurvivor.co.uk. And yeah, as I said, you can follow me on my Instagram, Narc Survivor YouTube. There isn't too much going on recently. I mean, I haven't really been doing too much here in Malaysia. But hopefully, you know, there should be more content now when I go to the Philippines. And what else was I going to say now? I can't remember. My mind's just gone blank. I just looked over there and someone was like stroking his hair like it was a toupee. And it just blanked my mind then. Part of the brainwashing. But oh well, I mean, if I can't remember, can it be that important? But yeah, give it a thumbs up. And, oh wait, no, I remember now, yeah. Yeah, there's a video, why narcissists act innocent and play dumb. That will be coming up now in about, premiering in about 6 hours. So I hope you can join us there. But actually it may not premiere, it may just be an upload. Either way, it will be up soon. All right, the links are down below in the live chat. Thank you all. And I will talk to you in another one very soon.